Hey, there you are. Well, just like that, not even 10 episodes into this thing, and the Secret Guitar Club has gone international. Today, I speak with Emanuele Faggion from Tricino, Italy. He's building gorgeous acoustic and archtop guitars that, to me, I think just have a little artistic touch to them that sets them apart. Really beautiful. Check out his website, I'll list it below. Let me know what you think in the comments. And so grateful to Emanuele for his time. I hope you enjoy the chat. Emanuele, thank you so much for joining me and joining the
Hi.
club today. I appreciate your time. I'm grateful for you being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's a pleasure for me, and I hope that it will be interesting for you.
It will definitely be interesting for me, and I think anyone who watches. Um, I spent some time on your website. Your website looks great. I'll link it in the show notes below. But it looks like you started building guitars at age 19. Is that correct?
Yeah. I started also playing guitars at age 19. It was a bit of a, love at first sight. I understand that it was better for me to build guitars rather than play guitars because I'm not good at playing. So I left the playing part, but I focused on the exploring, the functioning of the guitar because. I was quite curious to understand the functioning of it in a physical and acoustical point of view. So I started putting hands into it as soon as I started playing.
Yeah. Now, did you do any woodworking before you started, or is this how you got into woodworking as well?
No, I didn't any woodworking. I
Wow.
was a graphic designer first. My first job was a
Yeah.
graphic designer. But with my first salary, as soon as I started working, I bought a guitar, and soon after I bought some, routers, chisels, the most economic stuff I found on eBay, and started experimenting with it. So it was really an experimentation all
Yeah.
along.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you've come a long way because the guitars you're building are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Did you start with acoustic or the archtop?
I started with the archtop, let's say, because the first guitar that I built was a double neck 6/12 string with a piezo on the 12 string because at the time I was playing in a progressive rock band. We were making some covers from, Genesis and people like that.
Hmm.
And I absolutely needed a 12 string and 6 string double neck. So I started playing with wood and I made it was a semi-hollow. Okay, so I
Yeah.
started with the carving, the thicknessing. Although it was a semi-hollow, but I made the thicknessing of the part which was not on the outside of the center block, let's say. So I
Hmm.
started the easy way.
Yeah. Okay. If you say so.
Yeah, but
Um,
yeah.
and then can you take me through sort of your journey from then until now? How have you progressed as a luthier? And tell me about your journey there.
Yeah, from that I also made, also obviously electrics, but the study of the physics and the acoustics of the guitar was always on its way. I made my first acoustic guitar in, I can't remember the year exactly, but it was something like 15 years ago and it was obviously very basic acoustic guitar, but I wanted to test the expressing. I tried to test with a double expressing to see the difference with a normal expressing. The second one was with the same bracing, but with higher braces and slimmer. Okay, to understand if the higher bracing, the same torsion amount of thicker bracing, but reduce the weight. It was made in order to reduce weight, obviously. And I made other experiments, and in every guitar I made, I tried always to make something better than the previous one, obviously. and ultimately then I also made this for the archtop guitars. Clearly, that's for that part of the guitar building. I use very much the studies from the classical lutherie. You know, the lutherie from the strings world, the bowed instrument, because the behavior of the top and the back and the box itself of the archtop is quite similar to one of the bowed instruments. I'm talking clearly only about the behavior of the box because the forces that are put inside are very obviously very different. So you have to adapt the forces of a bowed string with the different forces of a plucked string that are very inferior in strength. Okay, but the movement of the table is similar. So I worked with, I studied a lot of the traditional lutherie to apply for example, the way the strings were, the luthiers measure the movements of the table, the modal movements of the table. The three movements, let's say for the vibrational modes, 1, 2, and 5, which are the most important modes of movement of the table, are applied also on the archtop guitar. I won't go into detail because maybe it's not so interesting and it's a lot to talk about, but it was to say that there is a contamination, okay, from other fields of lutherie that I tend to apply in our guitar world.
Now, when you say that, I here in the United States we have Martin guitar, which has a lot of history, and I interviewed
Yeah,
someone last week on some pre-war Martins that go back to the 1930s. In Italy,
yeah,
you have Stradivarius. You
yeah,
guys go
sure.
way back.
Yeah, yeah.
How much of that rich history and tradition are you incorporating into your work, and how much of that blends into the luthier community as a whole in Italy?
Yeah, there is, as you said, there is a great history of lutherie in Italy. Um, the first thing I tend to think about is the wood selection. You know, we have the Fiemme Valley here, which is the valley from where Stradivari itself took the wood, the spruce specifically, because that valley has a particular climate which makes the growth of the spruce very even, and the final tables are very even in the grain. Okay, so the grain is the growth of the grain is very stable,
Hmm.
and this makes a great tone wood. So, but not only that, also as I told before, the study of the movement of the table is very a topic that is from centuries, okay, of study
Yeah,
in the classical lutherie. Now
yeah,
there are more scientific approaches, you know, the measurement with the spectrum analysis and all the stuff, but it derivates all everything derivates from these kind of studies, okay, from the studies of centuries ago from Italian luthiers or German luthiers, European luthiers.
yeah, yeah. The history is amazing there. Do you have any of your guitars handy? Can we see one?
Yeah, since we're talking about archtop, I can show you. Just give me a second.
Yep.
This one. This one's an archtop that I don't know if you see it well.
Hmm.
I am doing right now. The colors are not are quite off, but this is um, an arch top and flat back. This is a little bit of an experimentation, and the look is something like an old cello from the 18th century. Okay, I made all this with natural resins, shellac, and oil, and I made a little bit of aging. I don't know if you can see it in the webcam, but there are better pictures on my
Yeah.
Instagram page. This is all carved by hand, clearly. I don't, This is, can you see it? Quite, yeah, you can
Yeah.
see it. Yeah. This is a carving that is handmade, and obviously every carving is different for every guitar. There is not a magic formula for every guitar. This carving, for example, I made it a little bit less high, okay, because I wanted to have a much prominent fundamental tone. Because making the carving less high, the first tone, the first vibrational mode works better if you. It's a quite a simplistic way of explaining it, but you get the idea. So this at the top point, it's 23 millimeters of height, and from this you have all the work of refining and then doing the recurve, which is this part near the sides, which is also the thinner part. And once you've made the outer part of the carving, you have to do the inner part, which is the most tedious job, because you have to calibrate it. And every part of the table has different thicknesses, which are also not standard. You do not have a golden rule, okay? You have to make the thicknesses different for every guitar, because every piece of wood is different, clearly, for its density, for its elastic modulus. So what we're trying to do here is use the way of measuring the vibrational modes we were saying before, in order to understand the behavior of the top. And with that, you can understand where to carve more or less. For example, if you want particularly dynamic guitar with a good compression, with a good easiness of to playing, you have to carve near the recurve. If you want a guitar that has more harmonic content, more open sound, you have to carve in this area. There are, little things you have to know in order to control your sound, control your behavior, the guitar behavior. This one, it has also, as we were saying before, a very antique look, because it has it's like an old violin or an old cello. I wanted to make a little experimentation with the looks. So it has the neck unvarnished. It has it's all flamed maple on back and sides from Europe. This is a Bavarian spruce, Bavarian spruce, yeah. And what can I say? This will have an ebony tailpiece and a maple bridge. I like maple bridges on archtop because they are slightly lighter, okay, than the ebony ones. So I feel like they're giving me a little bit of air, of openness of sound. And this is one.
Yeah. How is the neck attached on that? Is it how do you attach your necks?
This is a dovetail neck, which has
Yeah.
this side here. But as you can see, I think you can see that, the last part of the fretboard is suspended, okay?
Yeah.
It's because it frees, it opens, it lets it free, this part to vibrate better. It's not a great change because it's a small part, but it allows to move, the table more evenly. And but inside here, under the fretboard, I put two carbon fiber reinforcements to avoid, the distortion of the last part of the tongue, of the neck. So it's a very stable neck, but it allows the table to vibrate. It's a bit, like the cello family. The fretboard is suspended over the top.
Yeah. For finishing, did you say that you're doing a combination of shellac and oil?
Yeah. This is oil, traditional oil from Italy, as a base, and then shellac on the upper part. And
Like a
I,
French polish? Are you doing a French polish technique on
yeah,
that?
yeah. In the end, you with the tampon, you put always less shellac, always more diluted shellac in order to have this shine. I want to do a glass-like shine because I don't want it to appear too much, modern looking. Okay, I like this natural look. Okay, and I also do not want to cover the effect that you see. If you see in counter light, you see the veins of the spruce. Okay, I don't want to cover that. I like that effect. It's called I can't remember the name actually, Cordoir effect. Yeah, but anyway, I want to leave it as it is because I like that you can also see that there's a very low amount of varnish.
I noticed on your website that some of your arch tops have sound holes in the side, on the top side.
Oh yeah, the sound port. Yeah,
Can you
this
tell me
one.
about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is essentially for. Do you see? Yeah, you see it. This one.
Yep.
This is
Yeah.
essentially
Oh,
for
yeah.
hearing yourself while you're playing. It gets a little bit of help because some air of the inside of the table gets out and reaches you. But it also helps to open a little bit of, you get a more airy sound, more higher harmonics. Okay, because for the Helmholtz low, the I won't go into detail, but anyway, it will open the sound, and yeah, you have got higher harmonics for this.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. I ask a really dumb question here. I am way more curious I am about guitars than I am knowledgeable. I know quite a bit, but I'm just way more curious about guitars. But I do know more than to ask this really dumb question right here. Do you carve that after it's assembled or before you assemble that?
Before I make it before
Yeah, of
I make
course.
it as
Yeah.
soon as I bend the sides. Okay, I bend the sides. I
Yep.
put on the reinforcements here. I inside put also some reinforcement on this area in order to make it a little bit stronger. And then I carve it with the jeweler's saw. Okay. After I made it, I proceed with the gluing of the table and later of the back. I glue the back in the end because when I have glued the table and the sides, I can control some of the output of the sound because when I glue the table, the structure becomes more stable, so I can hear better how it sounds the box. So I make some little refinements before closing the box,
Yeah.
but I make some other refinements also when I close the box in the recurve, what is called the sguscia in Italian. This will allow me to tune the resonant note of the guitar. So there are various steps that needs to be done in order to control your sound during the build.
I've also noticed some artistic elements to your guitars on both your arch tops and on your acoustics, particularly around the sound hole of your
Yeah,
acoustics. You've got some very interesting artistic
thank you.
things on there, which I really think looks sharp. Can you tell me about sort of your philosophy on incorporating art into your guitars? Even
Yeah,
more art, I should say.
yeah, you work. Yeah, the thing is that I want to give a very personal point of view on the guitar, not only for aesthetics per se, but also because I want it to be recognizable. Okay, because there are many imitations of every kind of stuff around. So I try to do my best to make something new, not too much new just for the sake of being new. Okay. But something that may can be interesting. I also clearly have some inspiration for the rosette. It's clearly Matsuda, which is the great master of these kinds of rosette. I show you one right now.
Yeah.
Okay, this kind of rosette here is a little bit, like a Matsuda one, but it's with a little bit more of a personal touch. And
Yeah.
these inlays here, I don't know if you can see that, but there are some inlays here which form a shape, two shapes. And these are the Ursa Major, the constellation. I destructurated it, put inside the rosette to be particular, distinctive sign.
Yeah. That's very
And
cool. Very cool. I love that. That's really
thank
unique.
you. Thank you. This is a mid-size, quite small guitar with a 25-inch scale. This has the exotic ebony back and sides with a double X bracing. So it's a little bit of an experimentation. It's not a traditional. It's an X bracing, okay, but it has some refinements that I made. The back is an active back. It has a double X bracing too, with two separate X here to give stability at the back, but also to let the second the dipole, let's call it dipole, free to move. It moves like the two lungs. Okay, this part here is separated from this one. So it will be able to move like this and help with the projection of the guitar. This is made to compensate for the low size of the guitar because it's a small size, sorry. This is a small size, so the volume is a little bit lower than a dreadnought. So I try to do this to compensate.
What kind of wood is that again on the back and sides?
This is ebony. This is a Gabon
Oh, okay.
ebony.
Oh, wow.
It is called exotic ebony because it has the stripes, but it's a
Yeah.
Gabon ebony with striped ebony. This one instead is a Sitka spruce, the top, which is a little bit stiffer. Okay, and I like this wood very much, but I tend to use Fiemme spruce, but this was an experimentation. Let's say I wanted to use Sitka spruce because of the smaller size of the instrument. Okay, because maybe with the Fiemme spruce, which is a little bit mellower, okay, it may sound a little bit lose a little bit of upper harmonics. So I use Sitka.
What size or what gauge strings do you recommend to put on those? 12s or 13s?
Yeah, you can put both, but I recommend 12. 12
12.
because, yeah. So let's say that this guitar is meant to be comfortable. Also
Yeah.
because of the smaller string length. This is 25 inches, so it's a little bit shorter than a traditional Martin, let's say, with 25.4. If you want to have it to be comfortable, the 12 would be a
Yeah.
great choice. But also 13 could be a great choice since since the string scale is smaller. You can put 13 and it be comfortable the same, and it works good with 13 too.
Yeah. I love those. I love the shape of that guitar. That's my style of guitar. I could see myself just loving playing that one.
That will be great to. It's great to know.
Tell me, are you building all of your guitars to order?
I build both on order and also for demonstration. This was a
Yeah.
demonstration guitar, So let's say if I take an order of a guitar, I usually tend to build another one in the same time. So I have always another guitar ready to be sold or shipped away or for making an exhibition. So I tend to work in batches, two or
Yeah.
three guitars together.
Yep.
Not more than three. It's quite impossible because I do also repairs.
Hmm.
So the time is always strict,
Yeah.
and you would need more space.
Yeah. Yeah. My last question for you, when you take your guitar commissions, there must be a lot of communication between your customer and yourself about all the details of the guitar. Do you find that challenging or rewarding trying to understand your customer's vision?
Surely it's challenging because you have, it's always difficult to understand perfectly what the customer wants. Also because we are talking about, it's like Frank Zappa said, talking about music. It's like dancing about architecture. Or yes, it's difficult to describe with words a sound.
Yeah.
But when you are able to do that, it's rewarding. When the customer takes his guitar and says it exactly what I wanted, or or is satisfied with it, it's rewarding. And I always take some extra time to communicate to be sure that we are talking the same language. Okay, and the most important and the most difficult part of building an instrument is to understand what the customer means. Okay,
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
understand how can I give this customer the best I can do with his vision. So it's the most time-consuming part. Also, during the build, you have to send pictures, you have to stay in touch. But
Hmm.
also the most, I would say, the most beautiful part.
Your lead time about 7 to 9 months or so. Is that what it's taking
Yeah,
you?
yeah. For an acoustic, still flat top guitar, it's about 7, 8 months. For an archtop guitar, it's 2 months more than this.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's very
Well,
depends anyway.
yeah, you're a true craftsman and artist, and
Yeah,
you're doing some really impressive work.
thank you very much. I try to do
Um,
my best.
you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Where can people find you on Instagram and on the internet?
Yeah, I have a website which is fagionguitars.com. I have an Instagram account which is Faggion with double G underscore guitars. I have a Facebook account which is Emanuele Faggion, but I don't use it very much. But you can contact me through these two channels. And the Instagram
Yeah.
account is a little more updated with posts with work in progress, with some workshop content and stuff like that. The website has more of a portfolio stuff, so
Hmm.
you can have a
Yeah.
look at both.
Well, I'll put those both in the show notes below so people can find you and take a look at the actual beautiful instruments that you're creating. So,
Thank
thank
you.
you again for joining. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. It was
I
really a
appreciate your
pleasure for me
time, and I'm
too,
very
and
grateful for you joining the
thank you for
club.
the great opportunity. Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry if
Yeah.
I have some problem of communication with English, but I try to do my best.
You're doing way better than I would be doing in Italian, so no need to apologize.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye.